Hello, friend. Henry Flowers here, Powerful Living Outreach Ministry. Really excited about today's show. This content comes directly from a listener who has, it seems, just really has the heartbeat of what it means to experience powerful living. And it seems like he's got it just based on this email. So he sends me a message and says, I was wondering if you can make a podcast on how to be loving. How to be loving. We talk about Jesus and the love he gave us, but I want to know if you'll be able to just make a podcast strictly about how to be the loving one. That's really important too, how they put that in there, the loving one. And I'm tailoring this podcast exactly to this content. That's very important because in any kind of relationship, and we're talking about, I don't care whether it's your job, whether it's friends in your circle, and especially your close relationships at home, whether it's your spouse, your family, and those kinds of closer relationships, you know, at some point, somebody has to choose to be the loving one. Somebody has to choose to, you know, people say take the high road. Well, how about somebody has to choose to take the loving road? And I love this. Can you make a podcast how to be the loving one? So we're going to do that. And I'm jumping right in on this content because this is going to be really good. I wrote some notes. I can't wait to jump in here. So let me get through to the, the red tape here. So Henry Flowers, Powerful Living Outreach Ministries. Listen, Powerful Living 2022 at gmail.com. If you got questions, answers, comments, you got show topic ideas like this listener chimed in, go ahead and email us. If you want to give us a call, if you're in the Cincinnati area, the area code is 513-404-7793. Leave us a message, send us a text message with all of your questions or comments as well. If you want to visit us in person, we are every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We are in the upper room at General Dentistry. That's right. We are in the upper room where after we record the podcast, we get that wrapped up, and then we work through the distinctions that we cover in these podcasts. The information that I deliver, we actually have time where we do, even if we break it down to role playing, or we work through some specific things that are going on in your life. We work through these things in person, in real time, and people gain mastery of these distinctions. Listen, this is how you create powerful living in a real way. And it's not just about going and having a powerful church service or listening to a powerful sermon, but how do you make powerful living show up for you? You do it by coming to our empowerment sessions and, of course, staying tuned to this podcast. So in-person sessions, if you're in the Cincinnati area, 5616 Wolf Pen Pleasant Hill Road, right there in Milford. It was east of Cincinnati, but it's right off of 275. A block away, like literally up the street from Milford High School and Milford Middle School. It's right there. Come and join us Tuesdays at 7 p.m. The upper room. Also, if you, anywhere you find a podcast, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us. Just look up Powerful Living, put my name in there, Henry Flowers. I'm jumping in. We have a website. Listen, all of the podcasts and all of the videos that we've been doing recently are going to be on the website. PowerfulLiving2022.org is the website. You can check it out. You can get all the information there as well. You can contact us. And some of you have asked me about giving. You can do that as well. So listen, we are going to jump right in. I'm loving this content. I'm ready to go. When I talk to you about moving from, see, what I want to do is I want to gather a base of people who want to move from mediocre to magnificent lives. You know, I want to gather people who go from average to amazing, people who want to go from ordinary to extraordinary, That's the life that Jesus Christ said we could have. Like, for real, y'all. Like, people who say that they love Jesus Christ should be different. Their lives should be different. Their way of dealing with conflict should be different. Their way of interacting with people should be different than anybody else in the world. That's what Jesus said. When he talks about, he says, don't let the things of the world conform you. Don't let the cookie cutter of the world come down and stamp you and make you like everybody else. He says, don't be conformed to that, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Learning these distinctions, learning how to apply the word of God to your life and be able to mold and shape your life, like, that's how you don't conform. Yeah. So here we go. Now, the last couple of podcasts were really just topics that were really important to me. Could be really confrontational. We actually talked about the power of confrontation, right? Embracing confrontation. And so the next step, though, as you begin to take a look at your life and you have to say, okay, when it comes to being a believer in Jesus Christ, my life should be modeled by love. And because we learn the way we do as human beings, you know, I think it's just very helpful to have some how-tos. How do I be more loving? My boss is a donkey's behind. And I don't like her, or I don't like him. It's just, you got a toxic atmosphere at work. How do I show up powerfully at work when I got a jerk for a boss? My circle of friends is not the best circle, and I don't know what to do to change. Well, you know what? It's possible you don't need to change them, but you need to change you. You might need to change them. Changing your circle of friends can change your attitude and can change your ways and the way you think and the things that you come. Because, you know, the things that you listen to, the things that you allow people to pour into your spirit, that affects you. And so if you're always around negative people, and if you took a look at my book, Bored to Death, I wrote this book, How I Survived the Streets of Detroit and How I Created a Life That I Love. These 5 principles that I gathered, and after coming in contact with mentors, joining the Navy, how did I survive the streets of Detroit? Man, one of the things that I did, if you read my book, the 3rd step in my 5-step program is N for new friends. Brother, my sister, you got to be careful about the people that are in your circle. Like, they have a real connection and an effect on you that you may be minimizing. And so in that circle, there's a way for you to show up once you, especially if you say you believe in Jesus Christ, listen, you ought to be the influencer. Maybe you don't know how, so we're going to show you how to be more loving. And then also, you know, you got these tough relationships, your spouse, your friends or family. You want to have a more powerful relationship with your parent. And they're just negative people. And every time you get around them, you leave heavier than when you came. And it ain't because of mama's good cooking. that might be one reason. But it's not just because of that. It's because listen, there's a heaviness that comes because you get arguing, she's saying stuff that you don't like, you saying stuff that she don't like. Before you know it, something that popped off and she mad, now she said something else, and now you mad, now you said something else. And some of the people who should be the closest to you, because you got the history and all of these kind of connectivities that you have with them, man, they're people that you don't even want to go around anymore. Listen, it's possible that it's you that could change. Or it's possible that it's you that could be the change. It takes 2 people to squabble. You know, at some point, I've got to be willing to take a look in the mirror, y'all. Listen, I got to be willing to take a look in the mirror. I certainly believe in letting people own their own behavior. That's real. right? And what's also true is that, listen, I've been married twice and divorced twice. The common denominator is me. And so it's like, you know, especially with my most recent relationship, it was just hard and it was rough and there was just a bunch of toxicity. And there were just times where I chose to be angry. Just listen, I don't ever recall just popping off angry and something happened that was out of my control. All of a sudden, I'm fiery angry. Nope. Every time I recall, there was a decision I made. I'm about to start yelling. I've had enough. I've been patient enough. Right? My threshold has been reached and breached. So now I'm going to start yelling. Now I'm going to start cussing. Now I'm going to start throwing stuff. See, this is about me. Listen, and here's the thing. The anger could have been justified. Yeah, the anger could have been anticipated. Because, listen, I understand. You keep poking the bear at some point. If you run to the police station talking about I just got mauled and they ask you, well, what was you doing? Or I was in the cave. What was you doing in the cave? I was poking a bear. That's the same bear that mauled you? Yeah, that's the same bear that mauled me. Y'all go get him. They're going to be like, no. You got what you deserve. You should leave the bear alone. I get that part. But at some point, the bear chose. And if you are the bear, which I know I have been many times, you know, like I said, 2 relationships, 2 divorces, I got to start looking in the mirror. And I got to say, just because somebody poked a bear doesn't mean I had to choose anger and wrath and bitterness and to choose to respond in kind. All that stuff might have been expected and right, but it doesn't mean it was righteous. And so as believers, man, we just got to take a look in the mirror. I know I've been doing it too. So just understand, trust me, and believe that the distinctions that I'm talking about and wanting to help you through, brother, my sister, I am working through these things myself. In any future relationship, I want to be different. I want to be more loving in my next relationship. I want to be less angry. I don't want to yell. I don't want to curse. I don't want to fight back and venom and shoot venom. And it don't matter if she punched me 5 times in a row and now I'm finally about to strike back. I done took my 5 like Popeye. I done stood all I can stand and my cat stands no more. Yeah, listen, man. At some point, somebody got to choose to be the loving one. Like the listener said, how do I choose to be the loved one? So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. I'm about to jump right in. Okay. And so those are relationships that are just tough. And, you know, looking in the mirror, taking personal responsibility is the only thing that I can do about me. I can't preach to anybody else and say, well, you need to take a look in the mirror. Who is ever going to receive that well? Oh. Well, you started angering and you started yelling. Who's ever not going to be defensive? There's an accusation. That is an accusation. So it's like, how are you going to show up in order to create change in your life and in those specific relationships? And this is just in general what we're talking about here. So I really want to dive in and show us how to be more loving. I wrote so many notes. May not get it all done today, but I hope you stay with me. Here we go. I think the first thing that we need to do when it comes to an effort to be a more loving person, I just think 3 questions need to be asked first. Okay. Is it my desire to be more loving? Like, is this something that I really, really want? 2 marriages, 2 divorces. I want my next relationship to be a space where love is possible. And it's up to me. It has to begin with me. I think the writer of that song was correct. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. So how is it that I can be more loving? I think first answering the question, is it my desire to be more loving? Is it my desire to be more loving? So in whatever situation that you're in real time, there's a part of you that has to be willing to ask yourself, because you're right on the edge. You've been, they done poked the bear and poked the bear 4 or 5 times, and that's your threshold. Now your threshold is about to be breached. Even at that point, my friend, you can ask yourself, is it my desire to be loving right now? Because there's a difference between being loving and unloving. And no matter how justified your anger might be, it's still going to come across as unloving if you begin yelling and screaming and cussing. And we can only own and master our own behavior. And those are the things that we have to master if we say it's our desire to be unloving. And these are, if we say it's our desire to be loving, and these are not things that happen by accident. These are real-time things that you need to ask yourself. I'm telling you, y'all, I was sitting here doing the work, having a conversation with someone that I care deeply about, and the feelings are being expressed, and my chest is getting all tight, and I'm shallow breathing, and my jaw's getting clenched, and I'm all frustrated because something is happening that I don't want it to happen, right? Something is being said that I don't like. And listen, in that moment, I felt myself getting ready to start yelling and getting frustrated and pound the table and walk away. None of that stuff is going to be received as loving. And so in that moment, I took a pause, and in my mind, I asked myself, who do I want to be right now? Who do I want to be right now? I want to be loving. I don't want to yell. Yelling is not going to get the results that I say I want in a powerful relationship. I've done this 2 times now, regardless of how justified anything was before. None of that matters. 2 relationships, 2 divorces. Now I got to be different. Am I being different right now? Okay, if I start yelling, I yelled in the past. That's not different. If I pound the table and start punching the door, listen, I did those things in the past. Doing it again is not being different. But if I say to myself, Henry, be loving. Henry, be loving. Henry, be loving. Those are things that are different now. And I'm telling you, in that moment, it changed something in me. It caused me to gain control of the anger that was brewing because I reminded myself of what I was committed to. I want to be more loving. I want to be more loving. And I said to myself, be more loving. I'm talking about real time in the conversation. While the hurtful words are coming, the frustration is there. In the midst of it, I reminded myself of my desire. And folks, that's what you got to do. That's a how-to. It's like in real time, you're saying to yourself, what's true? I want to be more loving. And so you answer the question. That first question is it my desire to be more loving? If the answer is yes, then that is something that you remind yourself of. That's called creating a possibility. I am the possibility of being loving in this situation. Like right now, while the yelling is happening, while the anger is going across, the accusations, you always, and you never. Listen, I can be loving right then because accusations are just accusations. I don't have to receive them. They are not who I am. They don't, my accusations do not define me. They're just somebody's perception of what's happening right now. That's somebody's perception of you. And it may or may not be true. But if you just go on down the low road with them, then guess what? You just became what they accused you of. You see how quickly that happens? And so in that real time, I just said to myself, I want to be more loving. I want to be more loving. I want to not yell right now. And I'm telling you, it changed my physiology. You won't believe me until you try it. And I'm going to challenge you to try it. So the first step, is it my desire to be more loving? Now, here's the second question. Once you remind yourself of who you are and the possibility that you want to be in any particular situation, and this is stuff that you're saying to yourself, if you get the chance to say it out loud, that's better, but saying it in your mind in real time is good. And you want to get to the point where you can say it out loud to yourself, even in the mirror. You brush your teeth, finish brushing your teeth. Hey, I am a loving person. I'm going to be loving on my job today. You come home, you walk through that door, and you know there's some tension waiting there. Why? Because when you left, it was there. And you come through that door and you say, I'm going to be loving. You say it out loud to yourself. You confess those things which be not as though they were. That's what that scripture means. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so the things that you want to show up in reality, you confess it. You literally use words to transform your life. So a verbal declaration to yourself that says, I want to be more loving. That is my desire. It's my desire to be more loving. Now, the second question is, the rain is falling. I love this. I love the rain. I love the fact that I got aluminum awnings on my home. And you just hear the rain falling. It's very soothing. And so as the rain falling is showering this place with nutrients and the things that we need, we got to ask yourself, is it my responsibility to be more loving? I think if you own being the loving person, you get an opportunity to shower your relationships with love. Like, it can start with you. And you got to ask yourself over and over again, is it my responsibility to be more loving? Maybe the person that you're having difficulty with is older than you, and you feel like they should be the ones taking the high ground. Maybe the person that you're having difficulty with is your spiritual superior. Right? They've been saved longer than you have. They've been in church longer than you have. Or maybe they're your supervisor, right? Or this is just, right? They ain't been in this job longer, so they should be where he ought to be, where she ought to be. There's a whole bunch of ought to be's. We can ought to be all day long. And that still doesn't change how God is going to judge me for my actions. And so there's a place where we ask ourselves, after we ask ourselves, is it my desire to be a loving person? And is it my responsibility to be a loving person in this situation? Is it my responsibility? If the answer to that is no, and you actually say to yourself, it's not my responsibility to be loving in this situation. Okay, well then, listen, let the cussing begin. Let the yelling begin. Just let it off. Start throwing. You can go ahead and start throwing. Take all the glasses out the cabinet, throw them against the wall, and break every one of them. And just so you can let your spouse, your partner, whoever it is, your family member, let them know how angry you are. And you're not. Maybe in some world that would come across as loving. I know some traditions have a place where you break plates and stuff, but I don't think that's the same situation that we're talking about right here. In any situation, that kind of behavior is going to come across as unloving. And so you got to ask yourself before you start throwing your temper tantrum, is it my responsibility to be loving in this situation? Because everybody can do it. It's a choice. I'm about to come for you. This is good right here. So let me give you a real simple thing, because I drive for a good portion of the week. I'm in the transportation business. Listen, I have every opportunity multiple times a day to get mad on the road. Have you seen the way people drive nowadays? It is an epidemic that these people want to drive and be on their phone at the same time. It's madness and crazy. The kind of, I don't even call them accidents no more. The collisions that occur. I'm telling you, I see it. I put 80,000 miles on my car in the last 18 months. I'm telling you, I drive a lot. That's what I do, and I see things happen. I see this person swerving in and out of their lane, and I'm going by them, and then 2 miles down the road, they zip past me, and then I come by, and they turn the other way in a ditch. Now, you tell me that was an accident? Was it an accident that you was on your phone? Was that an accident? The phone just accidentally popped up in your hand and you started TikToking or whatever you're doing while you're driving. It's crazy. It's madness. And so all of these kinds of things happen on a daily basis. And at every opportunity, I have the opportunity to be angry. I can get angry. Start cussing and throwing curse words. And then you know what happens. You get in there, you deep breathing because somebody cut you off. And ooh, you mad. Ooh. Just because you don't even know their name. All you see is a car. And then you blankety blank and you throwing cuss words. Just left church. You still got the pastor's fingerprints on your forehead. You got all dripping down the side of your eye. And somebody cut you off in traffic leaving the church. It might be Bishop Beefcake. And you throwing the one finger wave, letting him know he #1. And you pull up silent and start cussing at him. And it's Bishop Beefcake. Just saw you in church. Let your hands lifted up. Hallelujah, glory. And he cut you off in traffic. And you giving them the one finger wave and calling them everything but a child of God. See, those are choices that we make right in real time to be unloving. And we think, well, they don't know. They shouldn't have did. Yeah, all that stuff is true. But guess what? God is watching you. God is watching you just like he's watching me. And this is things that I struggle with every day. So you know what I do? I say to myself, you know what? It's my responsibility to keep my peace. Because if I get angry right now because of these people, guess what? It's going to be another people. It's going to be another swerver. There's going to be another phoner, another TikToker, another heat. I was riding my motorcycle not long ago. A lady, I almost wrecked because she swerved into my lane. Listen, when I tell you I caught up with her at the next light, listen. She had one hand on the steering wheel and there was a bowl between her stomach and the bottom of the steering wheel, and she had a spoon. If I'm lying, I'm dying right now. She had the steering wheel in one hand and a spoon in the other, and a bowl lies between her stomach and the steering wheel. That's how she was driving. Eating and driving at the same. I'm on a motorcycle. She almost took me out. Would that have been an accident? Nope. It wasn't an accident. That bowl just materialized in your daggone stomach. No, that wasn't an accident. But here she is. You know, she minding her own business. She probably didn't even see me. And so I got an opportunity right now. I could start yelling and cussing, giving her one finger wave. I could do like some bikers. Some bikers, you run them off the road. They'll come alongside you and kick your door and put a dent in your door. I've seen it happen. So for me, I have to take a deep breath if it is what I claim that it's my responsibility to be loving. Then at that moment, I got to take a deep breath and say, wow, this is how the motorcyclist felt when I cut him off. I got to say, oh man. So the way I'm feeling right now is how the last person felt who I cut off. The fear and adrenaline that's pumping through my heart right now, that's how that person felt when I crossed the center line and they thought I was going to hit them because I was distracted. This is how they felt. You see, you put yourself in their place. It helps you at least get the opportunity to have compassion on them and to possibly be more loving. And so, listen, let them in. Let them in. Slow down and let the person in. What's your peace worth? You drive like a maniac trying to get to a job that you don't even like. And then you get all charged up on the road because you haven't made the choice that says it's my responsibility to be loving, even on the road. And then you go to your work, your job that you didn't like, and you got a root of bitterness in your heart, a seed of anger and bitterness there. And then, yeah, there's no wonder you already shortened it. The first thing you bought, say, here come the fangs. You know why? Because you started that stuff on the road. Let him in. Let him in. Keeping your peace is up to you. It's your responsibility if it's your desire. If it's your desire to have peace, then you got to be responsible for it. Well, he shouldn't have cut me off. Well, that don't mean you got to get angry over it. Let him in. Let him in. Don't give him the one finger wave. Man, listen, y'all better stop that. You better stop blowing your horn. You better stop wailing on your horn at people. You're going to mess around and get a fool. If you have not seen that movie with Russell Crowe, Unhinged, you better look at that. You better watch that movie. I know you done went on YouTube and seen some road rage videos and that kind of stuff. You can go ahead and do that if you want to. But listen, you watch that movie Unhinged with Russell Crowe, and I hope it'll change the way you use your horn. Mess around and get a fool. You don't know what people going through. Ooh, you don't know what people going through. You know what I do when I'm on the road and I see somebody flying by? I just change my mind. Instead of cussing them out and calling them something other than a child of God, you don't know what they're going through. That person's mom could be passing away in the hospital, been battling cancer for 8 months, and they say, you better hurry. Could have been like my grandfather. By the time they found cancer, it had metastasized. And it went long after that when my grandfather just laid down and died. But that person could be running because it might be the last minute they get to be with their loved one. And here you are cussing them out. What good is that going to do? It don't do no good at all. It just cause you to get angry over something that might not even be real. And that real time, you get to create your reality. You get to say, wow, that person must really in a hurry. Lord, bless that situation. They probably got something real serious going on. What's the harm in that? My friend, that's called taking responsibility for being loving. And when you're at home and you're having a difficult conversation, instead of, why am I being attacked? How about just turn it around and just say what might be true? What might be true? Wow. This person has really been hurt in the past. They're really defensive right now. And I don't think their anger is about me. Let me not take it personally. These are things you're saying inside yourself because you're taking responsibility for being a loving person. And the first step in that is just controlling your own emotions, even if you have to make something up. You know, let them in. You don't know what people are going through. You just don't know. But here's what I do know. That every one of us must give account of himself to God. And I think God is going to judge us according, well, as a matter of fact, I know, because the scriptures say we'll be judged by every idle word that proceeds out of our mouths. Ooh-wee. Boy, if that's actually a part of judgment, Lord, have mercy, Lord. I don't want to be accountable for every idle word that proceeded out of my mouth. That's just not something. Because I know there are many times on the road that I've been unloving. We just talking about driving. Whew, Lord have mercy. Yeah, so you get to choose right there in that moment and say, I'm going to be more loving. I'm taking responsibility for me. That's the only one I can control. There's two people in this situation right now, me and the other driver, me and my spouse, me and my partner, me and my coworker, me and my boss, me and my friend. There's only two people. I can only be responsible for me. I'm going to do the loving thing. I'm going to be the loving one. Time is short, y'all. Okay, here we go. And then the third question, once you've answered the first question, is it my desire to be a more loving person? And if you want a powerful life, listen, powerful living is powerful loving. The two cannot be separated. If you want a powerful life, you've got to have powerful love going on. And so you ask yourself, is it my desire to have a powerful life? Then I got to be doing some powerful loving. I'm going to be a loving person. So it's my desire to do that. And then is it my responsibility? Is it my responsibility right now to take care of me in this situation? All I can do is take care of me. Yeah, there's plenty of reasons. There's plenty of logical explanations about why I should start getting angry and possibly do something unloving right now. But is that the only way? You know, just because something is understandable doesn't mean it's the thing to do. Like I said, it might be right, but it might not be righteous. Okay, I gotta say that for less time. Let me keep moving. Now, so once I've said yes to the desire to be more loving, and I've said yes to actually being responsible for me and making real changes in real time in difficult situations. Now, I've got to take a broader look at my life when I ask the question, is it my way of being? So I've desired to be loving. I've taken responsibility in doing more loving things. Now, is this going to be my way of being? Am I going to build a track record, a pattern, a timeline of choosing love to the point where my spouse begins to notice, you know, it's been a long time since we had an argument. It takes two people to argue. And just because the other person is yelling, that does not mean I got to start doing it too. I got to take responsibility for me because I have a desire to be loving. And I have to start right now because I want to build a track record. You don't get a whole lot of credit for doing it one time. Even, I love the scripture. It says, he whose strength fails in a time of adversity, his strength is small. See, all of this desire for being a loving person and all of the work that you do to build yourself up and to become a better person and a better believer and just a better lover, man, those things are going to be proven during the adversity. And so when the adversity shows up, you want to be loving every time. And then you boom. And then that time, boom, I did it again. Oh, guess what? I just did it again. That was 3 times this week where I felt myself angry. I felt myself right on the threshold. I was about to blow up. I was about to start yelling. And I took a deep breath and I said those words that Henry said to say. How can I be more loving? How can I be the loving person? And when I said that in my mind, I felt the anger subside. And I was able to ask a question instead of making accusations. Why you always gotta, and then there it goes. Now, instead of doing all of that, how about start a track record of this? The next time yelling starts, instead of going back and yelling again, just ask a question. How did I offend you? And just let them sit with it. How did I offend you? Here's another one. I'm sorry. This conversation seems to be going in a way that I don't want it to go. Can we start over and choose to be more loving? Can we start over and choose to be more loving? Can we start this conversation over? Obviously, I've offended you. Can you forgive me? Can we start over? Here's a tool for you too, that is especially for spouses. This is a tool that I learned from my counselor. In difficult situations and conversations, make physical contact. Hold that person's hand. Hold that person's hand. It reminds you of the humanity. We get so caught up in our emotions sometimes we forget that on the other side of that table is a person. That's a human. It's flesh and blood. Man, it's hard to yell at somebody when you grab their hand. And you grab that hand, and this is a way of being that you're going to have. Man, don't touch my hand. Okay, listen, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a connection with you to let you know that it's me. And I don't want to fight. Can I touch your hand? If the person is that daggum cantankerous and don't want any kind of contact, then there's a real problem, and counseling is way past due. And counseling is a great thing. Folks got to be more present to that. Counseling does not mean you crazy. You crazy if you don't get counseling. The Bible says there's safety in a multitude of counsel. People who've been there, done that. I'm trying to help you with the experiences that I have had. And during these times, if you want to build a track record, a way of being, a pattern of being loving, then it has to start with you, it has to start right now, and it has to have momentum, right? And successes over and over again. And these are just a few tools that I can share with you in this short amount of time because I love you. And powerful living is powerful loving. And I love you enough to say, hey, listen, if we're going to move toward the powerful life that Jesus Christ said that we can have, it takes tools and it takes patience. First takes a desire for you to be different. Man, I'm just so sick of folks that say they love Jesus. Just seeing us be unloving. I'm just sick of it. We should be the most loving people on the planet, and too many times we are not. And so these are some of the tools that we can learn. And I know you want to get into the scriptures, so let's get into the scriptures before I close. I got so much more to say. I have copious notes here. This is really important to me, to be more loving, because I believe it's really important to God, but it changes people's lives. My life has been impacted so greatly by people who loved me. And I spent a long time, I spent way too long a time feeling unloved. And right now I'm in a great relationship with somebody who just loves me. And I like it. And I'm choosing to be more loving. I don't want to yell anymore. I don't want to argue anymore. I'm too old. It's old. It's old. It's old having a cantankerous relationship, arguing all daggum time. You're out there and all that foolishness, you come home to the same thing. Christians, supposed to be Bible-believing people, supposed to be some of the most loving people on the planet. At church, got your hands lifted up. Just got done doing the Christian kick. Ran all around the church. Done tracked me. Got burnt. You done burnt the rut in the carpet. Running around church. Get home and cuss your husband out. Get home and cuss your wife out. Get home and your kids don't like you. Shame, shame, shame. These are things that happen way too often. And it's just mostly because we just don't have these principles in place and these practices that says, hey, listen, I'm going to choose. This is my desire to be loving. It's taking personal responsibility. And I'm starting a way of being. I'm going to start a pattern of this thing. I ain't going to do it one time and then cuss 17 more days in a row. And then the 18th day come back. Now I'm going to be loving again. No, man, I got to start a pattern. And I got to be consistent. Because that causes transformation, and it causes people's lives to change, and they see a difference in you. They see a difference in you. Man, folks want to come to Christ. They want the peace that comes with Jesus Christ, but man, sometimes they don't like you. God, I heard Mahatma Gandhi that he was quoted as saying, I love your Christ. I don't like many of your Christians. Something for me to think about, whether he actually said that or not. You know, the principle is not off. Because we can look in the scriptures and we love Christ. We love who he was, his loving kindness. And he says, those are the things that I use to draw you. And sometimes we, as believers, as followers of him, seem to be devoid of the things that he used to draw us. Shame. We got to be better, y'all. We got to be better. So here we go. John chapter 15. And this is the words of Christ. I wanted to get through more of my notes, but I wanted to share my heart with you also. I'll share some more of this next time. There will definitely be a part 2. But John chapter 15, verse 12 and 13, Jesus is speaking when he says, "This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends." So here's what I see here. I see a command. Jesus literally giving a commandment. You say the 10 commandments. We're supposed to live by the 10 commandments. I can assure you there's a whole lot more than 10 commandments. Right? But Jesus is saying here, this is a commandment. Love each other the way I have loved you. Now, I can read in the scriptures where Jesus cussed some folks out. Okay, he said some things to some people that was not savory. He looked at the Pharisees and said, "You a generation of vipers." That was not a lovey, huggy, kissy-feely moment. Okay, I'm sure they didn't feel good. They didn't feel loved. And I'm sure it was his intention to make sure that that was not the moment for them to be loved. It was their moment to be chastised and to be called out and exposed. So here we are with Jesus saying, love each other, though, the way I've loved you. I set the example. And he says it's a commandment. It's a command that we be loving. That's why I'm asking you, listen, do you have the desire? Are you going to take responsibility? And you're going to start a track record, a way of being? Is that what you want? Well, guess what? All of those things are a command from the Lord Jesus Christ himself. He said, do it. And he says, there's no greater love than to lay down your life for your friends. Now, I will get into this next time. I don't have much time left in this podcast. I'm going to get into this next time. What does it mean to lay down your life? He was not talking about dying. I'm telling you, you just trust me, okay? I study this word. I read the Bible from cover to cover every year. I get in there and I study the words. I'm just telling you, he's not talking about dying for your friends. That's not what he's talking about. He's laying down your life. Laying down your desires, your agenda. Ooh, I'm going to get into that next time. I'm going to talk about some how-tos and get into that. What does it mean to lay down your life? It's going to be really good. I told you I took a lot of notes and I'm coming back for this. So he says, finally, in this passage, verse 17, check it out. The last verse, he says, this is my command. Love each other. I don't know about you, but if you had one of them folks in your life that they could say something to you and they gave you a look when they said it, and you knew they was for real and you better not play with it. But there's also some people when they say something twice in the same breath, you better know. That means you better pay attention because they said it twice for a reason now. There ain't gonna be no, oh, I'm sorry, go get me a switch. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. Why they gonna make you go get the switch? You try to get the biggest one so you can't swing it that fast. They're gonna send you behind right back out there. You go getting one right or else I'm gonna go get one. And it's gonna be on after that. Now play with me. I told you twice. When somebody tell you twice, they mean that thing. They mean it. And here he did. Here Jesus is. The same way he started that sentence is the same way he ended it. He said, this is my command. Love each other. Love each other. Man, as believers, we can't even begin to love the world until we actually have love for each other. You know how many squabbles we have over religious stuff, the way your church do stuff? You don't speak in tongues, you ain't really saved. You don't believe in the rapture, you ain't really saved. Or you sprinkle instead of fully immersed. Oh, I don't know, y'all, I don't want to have nothing had. Oh, you done been divorced? Oh, you got to go. We don't even call them no more. You found out brother Bernard committed adultery, and you ain't seen him in a month, and you ain't calling him. You see him in the store, and you go down the other aisle, act like you don't see him. Is that love? Is that loving? Let me ask you a question. Had you been the one in that situation, would you feel loved if somebody did that to you? Just like I told you, somebody speeding by, and you calling them everything but a child of God because they cut you off. They might got an emergency. Grandfather taking his last few breaths, fighting cancer. And now you calling that person a child of the devil. Somebody you love caught up in a bad situation. Possibly they tried everything they could not to end up in that situation. And now you looking down on them. Don't call them no more. They believers. They believers. And it's what? It's supposed to be perfect? You ain't perfect. How in the world you have a standard of perfection for people when you don't even meet it? And Jesus says, love each other. And the behavior that you are exhibiting, if you turned it around, you wouldn't like it. Possibly it's not loving. And he said it twice now. He said it twice. He ain't gonna say it again. Go get me a switch. You see, he said, this is my command that you love each other. And I know people fall and they might need some time away, and that's great, but they need time away to think about what they've been through. They don't need time away thinking about how bad you think about them. They don't need time away thinking about how bad they've been ostracized and who is never going to look them in the face again. They don't need that. You better be careful. You better be careful you're not doing the devil's work. Be careful. Calling yourself a child of God and you doing more harm to the Christians and the devil sitting back on the beach with an umbrella drink, laughing and yucking with popcorn, watching the show. Some of us Christians put the devil on vacation. Be so unloving. I'm done. I'm coming on in, but just understand he done said it twice now. Love each other. And I can see him looking at you and just blinking. Until you love each other. I know. Listen, powerful living is powerful loving, and the two cannot be separated. So you got to choose who you're going to be. You choose a desire to be more loving and take personal responsibility for it and build a track record. Why? Because Jesus commanded us to do so. Y'all, we got to be different. If we want our lives to show up differently than the world does, man, we got to do something different. We got to be something different. And it's a choice that we make every time, every day, in every situation. Turn the table and ask yourself, how would I want to be treated if I was that person? Wow. Is that what I look like when I did that to somebody else? Wow. If I had committed adultery, is this how I would like to receive treatment from everybody who called me friends? Would I like to have nobody call me? Would I like people to walk the other way when they see me coming? Would I like to be painted with a scarlet A because I got an adultery and that's me now? Oh, wow. Would I like that? If I wouldn't like it, why am I doing it to that person? So you have to build a track record of doing something different because it's not in our nature to be loving. That's why he said it twice, brother. That's why he said it twice, sister. Love each other the way I have loved you. It's my commandment. I'm commanding you now. Love each other. I told you twice. Henry Flowers, Powerful Living Outreach Ministries. I ain't going nowhere. I'm coming back.